All right, it is Hello Again Wednesday. This is episode number 79. Hello Again Wednesday. And so I'm so glad that you had joined me again on this Facebook Live or wherever you're watching it. You could be watching it on my YouTube channel called Brent Miller, What's on His Mind. You can see it there. I also shoot it on over to our church page. The church page is where I pastor. Culver City Church of God Ministries on Facebook or at culvercitychurchofgod.org. You can see these week after week or especially loaded up on my YouTube channel. I'm just so glad that you have joined me, though, uh, being my special guest this week. And as my special guest, you also get the opportunity to join in on the conversation, to be a part of what's being said as we talk with one another today. As you watch, please make sure you click those following buttons and those share buttons and those subscribe buttons and notification buttons so that you always know when I'm on every Wednesday. Question of the day. Actually, it's a twofer. How would you describe your world? What does your world encompass? And so those are the twofer questions of the day for this week's episode. This week's episode kind of blossomed a week ago as I was preparing for last week's stuff, and things were happening within our household. And something was said by Cameron. I have two 8-year-old grandsons. They're the last of the six. And Cameron was saying something, and it ended up being that's Cameron's world. And so you saw at the very beginning, Cameron's world. It's quite possible that we all believe we have our own little world, or as in the old television program, a different world. Or how about both Hollywood, probably blockbusters, which would have been Jurassic's world. So now you got something else to think about. Or how about Avatar's world? There's a world of avatars, but then there was that movie of Avatar, which is a whole nother world. Or how about back in 1992 with the old Saturday Night Live clips of Wayne's World. And so those were the blossoming episodes for Dana Carvey and Mike Myers, especially with Shrek. We were talking about Shrek the other day. So that's some of the things of a world. Cameron's world is what I'm going to start talking about, though, this week. We were driving up. This is how one of the thought processes of it. We were driving up to Six Flags. And for us to go to Six Flags is to get on a highway and drive for about 40 minutes. And so in this time frame of driving, there's a lot of things that go on in the minivan. A lot of it has to do with phones and their own headsets and stuff like that. But with Cameron, he had said something, and when he said it, I just joined in a conversation with him that lasted about 30 minutes of that 40-minute drive. And I mean, the kind of conversation when you have with probably it's my own, who I am. I like to be maybe aggravating, I guess, at sometimes. But with this discussion, the whole thoughts were revolved around two phrases, why and because. And so with that being said, it was so easy to bounce back and forth. Something would be said, well, why? And something would be said, well, because. And then something else would be said, well, why? And so this was the world in the van that sucked in some other individuals as I joined along in Cameron's world for almost that entire trip. And now, some of you are probably thinking, maybe a lot of movies are popping in my head. Are we there yet? that was probably one of the thought processes for those that were sitting in the car with us or in the van with us as Cameron and I were going back and forth. Are we pleased there yet? Okay. So for me, I think one of the problems is, I'll say, is I take pleasure in it. I enjoy ribbing people, being a little back and forth with people, not in a mean way, just for fun. And so I take pleasure in it. And so it's easy to get that I will step into their world. But a lot of times, maybe some of you might find it aggravating to be kind of in that kind of conversation. But hey, I enjoy it. Now, maybe you're like this. See, I had to look at my notes. I mean, I'm like, boom. I had to look at my notes for a sec because a lot of times when you're in the jumping into people's world or trying to interact with their world, a lot of times at some point in time, they will just shut you out of that world. Cameron, he could do that. A lot of people can do it. Like I said, they put on the old headphones and boom, you're out of the world. And so I know it can happen because it does happen to me. And I'll just kind of joke a little bit with Connie. See, Connie can easily find me aggravating trying to jump into her world like that. Okay, because with her world, our world start at different times in the morning. And so when she gets up, my world has already been going. And for sometimes it can be going full throttle. And so when she wakes up, I'm like, blah, 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 I'm just kind of talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, which, I've been told this, especially by her, that I just talk way, way too much. And when it's first thing in the morning, it is always way, way too much talk, 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 talk in her world. And so then all of a sudden, it is easy for me to get shut out of people's worlds. So it's quite possible that we all have our own little world. Okay. My world, the way I kind of shut the world out for my own little encompassing would be guitars. There's one right over there. There's a couple upstairs. There's or a piano. And so music is where I can really have my world, my little world. They let my kids and they laugh at me because like I said this before, they've discovered my world. It does involve where I can sit and be in conversation, or I can be involved in things while blasting music in my headphones or whatever. I might have to lift it off my ear for a sec or two, but it's real easy for me to do a ton of different things at the same time, and that's my world. I can easily just drift off into that great world of music or even some really good television programs and fall asleep to stuff like that from my own little world. So just for, on a little serious note, sometimes like I said, we all have our world. Our worlds are touched by tragedy, and sometimes it just shocks our world, and sometimes it's very close to us, and sometimes it's just what's happening in the world that surrounds us, and in that we or maybe just me, not, I know it's not just me, I know there's others that we think, how could something so senseless, so, man, almost evil affect the lives of young kids or young or adults. And I'm speaking of the tragedy in Texas that just happened for yesterday. And I began to hear certain things, and a tragedy like that affects everyone's world. And with that, sometimes you hear things that wow, I can't believe I'm hearing stuff like that, or the things that people are saying about it, or anything like that. And it makes me step back for a moment because it's sometimes you hear things like, thoughts and I'm going to say this, thoughts and prayers, they're quote, not even enough. And I understand what the thought process is on that. But sometimes if we begin that thought process of even a thought or prayer isn't enough, then we begin to maybe even lose hope in uh, a better result. And when we begin to lose hope, sometimes maybe even we can rear up a revengeful thought process that doesn't even have justice in its sights. And so I think as I close out today, I would just like to remind us that even when you don't have the words or you have no thoughts on it, or maybe you don't even know what kind of action you would take or that is really needed, this one thing I do know, that in all things, both joyful, in all things tragic, in all things that encompass our world, in the moment that I don't know what to say, I know because of Scripture that the Spirit's already in conversation with God on my behalf. And I know that God knows everything. And I would just hope that He would allow that same Spirit to touch the lives of people, to touch the lives of someone else, of their world that might be hurting. I know He can do it. And so for me, I do pray for a small community in Texas. And I hope you would do the same thing. Well, it's 1:30 out here on the West Coast. It's almost getting close to that 2:00 time. We have our Bible study. I'm downstairs trying to do things to figure out to make sure I can maybe get that over on Facebook for our Zoom Bible study that we have. Well, it's Zoom and live in person. And Pastor Mark is leading us through the book of Acts. We are almost done. In fact, today's, I would say, an announcement like this, it's Acts/Joshua, because we're going to be going into the book of Joshua as our next thing that we're going to be doing as Pastor Mark leads us through that. If you're wanting to be a part of that, you can check us out on Facebook at, like I said, it'll be at Culver City Church of God Ministries.com on Facebook. And or you can join in on a Zoom, and I can get you that Zoom link so that you can join with us that way today. If you can't, be a part of someone else's Bible study and a Bible-believing church near you. Who knows? Maybe they are wanting you to be a part of their world, a part of their space. Okay? So go ahead and check that out. Remember that question of the day for responding, because you are my special guest. How do you describe your world, or what does your world encompass? Be sure and leave comments wherever you can leave those comments, or leave it out as a story, and I will be checking those things out as I always do. Check me out if you like on my YouTube channel, Brent Miller, What's on His Mind, and you can check out the things that are happening there. And as always, I just want to thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week.